Hey there everyone. So, good news is I'm back on the camera again. You know how I absolutely adore my camera. And even better, I have a new tripod. Yay! I know, I've been saying I'm gonna get a new tripod for ages, right? So, hopefully it works out for me. Now, today is Valentine's Day, and so far I am having a lovely, lovely day. I was, and then I called up my mortgage company. I don't know why I just decided to do that. That was very bad planning on my part. But it's okay. I'm going to keep my happy moment and decide to go over my plan for today, which was, if you'll remember, I hinted at using this month to discuss a little bit about the theme of love as it pertains to family and kind of broader terms than just Valentine's, that special somebody, etc., etc., because that's kind of what we get bombarded with a lot this month out of the year. So, I wanted to start by grabbing my notes because I always wind up long-winded, but the idea for me at this time of year is there's a lot of movement around the idea of love spells, love potions, love incense, love this, that, and the other. And a lot of it has to do with drawing love to you. And that's fine. But the thing that I feel is really heavy in these, or a connotation that's really heavy in these love spells, is trying to basically grab and drag somebody to you who's going to love you. And that should not be the point of anything to do with love and emotions in witchcraft. Because, as we hopefully all know, we cannot or should not, I'll say it that way, should not perform magic that is done to someone else, against their will possibly, or without their knowledge. That just creates negativity, negative energy. They're going to fight back against it, whether they know it or not, and it's just a bad situation for everyone. So I wanted to start out by kind of going over this concept of love and what it is. I had mentioned at some point in the past, one of my other videos, doing kind of a spoof spell on the practical magic Veritas spell. Now, we all remember in the movie, the young little witchlet creates a spell for her perfect guy. One green eye, one blue. He can flip pancakes and ride a horse backwards or a pony, that sort of thing. And these are all mostly, they're physical characteristics, they're also character traits. And even though this is really a lot of fun, and I know most of us have preferences, we just have some character traits, some physical traits that we're attracted to. The problem is, if we focus on those traits, it's very narrow and we're leaving ourselves out of a much bigger pool. We're doing ourselves a disservice in that respect. So what I tend to think of in terms of love is kind of a broader aspect of actions and values. I believe our actions toward others are reflected in our personal values. In my case, I certainly know this is true. The things that I have been raised to believe are important. You know, stand by your family. Don't leave somebody in the lurch. Treat people with respect, that sort of thing. These are values, very basic, and they can be applied to anything and everything, but they are and should be applied to our concepts of love as well. I've been told in the past that, well, my what do you call that? My expectations or what I want out of a partner in life are too high. My expectations are set too high. And I'm never going to find a perfect person. However, the people who have told me that apparently did not realize that I've never been interested in finding a perfect person. Perfect people do not exist. I am not a perfect person. So the way I see it, I want reflected to me what I would give that other person. So since I know I can't be perfect, why would I expect that to come into my life? Doesn't make sense. Love is much more intangible. And I'm going to use family examples because I think those examples are a little bit more understandable for most people. Because this is something that no matter if we've never experienced any sort of love from a partnership with someone, most of us, hopefully most of us, have felt some sort of true, strong love within our own families. So what does this mean? Does this mean blood? Because we know the idea of love between parents and children, that special bond between mother and child, grandparents and grandchildren, that's a very strong one. So that is part of it. Blood, I think, can play a big part, but we can't give it too much credit. And here's why. What if you have an absolutely wonderful, loving relationship with a parent or grandparent, but either you or that parent or grandparent is not related by blood? This is happening more and more today. It's very common to find mixed families, families that have one or both parents who have divorced and remarried or widowed and remarried. And it's very common to mix, well, you're not really mixing bloodlines in this way because there's no actual physical mix, but you're combining family trees and branches. And in my own family, during my trip, I was able to add a few tweaks to my family research, and this topic came up. One of my aunts mentioned that for my grandfather, I had asked about one side of the family, his last name. And she said, well, but if you're doing a family tree, you would have to look into this other name. And I had already known my grandfather was born out of wedlock, so he received his mother's name. He didn't get his father's last name. And on top of that, his mother died when he was 2 years old, and he was adopted into a family that had many children. So technically speaking, if I want to research bloodlines, I have to go back through this family branch that I've really never heard of. I know the name, but that's about it. So which is more important? Is it the name? Is it the bloodline? Or is it the idea, the feeling? I know more about my grandfather's father's side of the family just from records, just from what was available to me. But my grandfather actually has never shown to me much interest in that side of the family. And what he knows is his last name and his mother. Now, he's never mentioned much about his mother, but it seems to me there's a stronger connection to his mother. So take that into consideration. What are the aspects that make love a viable thing in your life? Another example. My maternal grandmother. She died when I was 3. For all intents and purposes, I have no recollection of her. Her face, her voice, nothing. But my sister and I both had spent so much time with her as babies. up until we were 3 years old. And we received so much love from her that it stuck with us. It stayed with us our entire lives. When my grandfather remarried when I was 6, my sister and I did not want to call that woman grandmother. And we didn't. And up until my brother was born when we were 9, and my mother asked us to please call her grandmother because she was my brother's grandmother. So we started calling her that then. Granted, now it may have been different if this woman had made any sort of an active effort to behave like a grandmother. She was always very standoffish, and she was not very warm. She didn't offer to do things with us, and she basically was just a person in the family. That may have made a difference. Not sure. But again, here we have a person in my life, my grandmother, who I basically do not know. And yet I have always had this deep, deep feeling of love from her. So that is the idea that I wanted to kind of concentrate on for anything revolving around love, love spells, potions, etc., especially for this holiday. And my own Amas Veritas spell. So knowing that I'm going to concentrate more on this idea of values and what actions emit my ideal of love, I was also thinking that, gee, there's one other factor here. So I can decide in my head what the important components are. But again, I cannot put the entire weight, I guess, of a spell onto the person I'm trying to call to me, the person or the emotion that I'm trying to call to me, because it's not on them. I have to be open and receptive to receiving love, if that's what I want in my life. So how do you go about doing that? Again, I would go back to looking at the values and characteristics that you've named as important to you, that describe love to you. Again, for me it would be things like loyalty, respect, being there for someone no matter what, communication, working things through, being committed to working things through even when you don't want to. All of those things. I would have to take a look at myself first and say, okay, am I willing to give all of that? And be sure of it, because if there are any hiccups, any maybes in there, then it's best to spend some time on self-love and working with yourself first to find out why. Why would I hesitate to give those things? And personally, at this point in my life, I am still hesitating. So I know I cannot do any sort of Valentine true love spell. It's not going to work because I still have hesitations on my side. Work through those. Work on some self-love. Figure out what it will take to make you, or me in my case, an open and loving person. Once that's taken care of, then we can have some fun with creating love spells that will open up the doors to bring in a counter emotion, to bring in a, or not counter, but reciprocal emotion into our lives from someone else. Hopefully I've made a little bit of sense. I think I have gone through my points in my notes, not very clearly, but the idea is, step 1, define what love means to you. And do not base it on physical characteristics or character traits necessarily. What I mean is not superficial character traits. They have to be ingrained You have to, and you can see that with most people. We're, in general, good judges of character, and you can see when someone is truthful, when someone is loyal, when someone is sincere. Look for those qualities. Look for them in yourself. Define them in what you want from your love spell. Begin with yourself. If you need some self-love, if you need to be sure that you can function on your own without someone else, this is very important, then do that first. Make sure that you know you are perfectly fine and capable on your own. Know that you are able to be open for what you want in life. Once you've gone through those steps, then we can start with spells and spell elements. And some of the things you might want to consider are the phase of the moon. A waxing moon, preferably on a Friday, would be good for anything love related. Taking a nice ritual bath is not necessary, but could be very fun. I am hoping at some point to upload recipes for you, my bath mix recipes, which I have somewhere on my computer. A milk bath. I would love to suggest a milk bath with dehydrated milk. Add some essential oils, rose geranium, and rose if you have it, but it's very expensive. Lang lang is a good one. Any of those added to maybe some rose petals just gives a wonderful ambiance. Candles, of course, are very nice at this time of year, and for this kind of work you can use pink candles, red candles, and I highly recommend casting your spell with a box of chocolates and a glass of wine. Truly, setting an ambiance really helps a lot with spell work. Let's see. One thing that I would like to incorporate in my own little love spell when I get it completed is writing a love letter. You can do this, pick out a nice parchment paper, a nice pen, a quill pen if you have one, and write a letter to this person you want to invite into your life. Tell them all of the reasons why you adore them, why they're so wonderful to you, why you're so happy with them. Write that out, be sincere, and then you would have to decide if this is something you want to further release. Close up the letter, seal it up, and then either burn it, send it out as smoke to the universe and say, please deliver this letter for me. You can put it in water, let it disintegrate over time. You can bury it in the ground somewhere and put it into the earth that way. Please send my message out and to the appropriate person so that they find me. I kind of like the idea of holding on to the letter and tucking it away somewhere, maybe in your spell book, reference binder, in your journal, and just knowing that the message will get through. I believe that. It doesn't matter if I do any of the other things, but the message will get through if I ask it to. So hang on to it, send the message out, thank the universe, thank the spirits, whoever you're working with, for helping you. And when that true love does come into your life, dig out the letter again. Read it with them. Give it to them. See how long it took. Use the letter as a reference. I really like that idea. That's probably what I'm going to do with my true love spell. And let me see if I have forgotten anything for you. Oh, creative ideas for sending out your message. Message in a bottle, anyone? Carrier pigeon. You can get very creative with these things, and I think it would be so much fun to come up with different and crazy ways to have the universe deliver your letter. Okay, and that is it. So that was my little rant on love and love spells, and a few suggestions for fun ways to do them. hopefully this was not too long of a video, but I wish you all an absolutely wonderful Valentine's Day. I hope you have a beautiful day, whether you are with someone or not. If not, make it a wonderful day for yourself. If you try any of these little ideas, or if you come up with a particularly fun and wonderful love spell of your own that you wouldn't mind sharing, tell me all about it. I love to see spells and how they turn out. Thanks again for watching, and talk to you soon. Bye.